Welcome back to the 5th part in this series where I see if I can beat the Final Fantasy XII Zodiac challenge. This is a challenge run series where each character's class is determined by their actual zodiac sign. And if you have missed the previous episodes, then click the link on screen or in the description to get caught up with where we're at in this series. So we have this side quest that we need to complete in order to grab a key to get us back into these mines that we were in previously so that we can complete a hunt. There's a lot of things you need to do for this side quest, and there is no way I would have been able to do it without the help of Google. I wouldn't have even known that this is part of the game, but apparently these guys are being held hostage, according to this guy, by these cactuses. Even though the guys look fine, they're just chilling on the boxes, but yeah, this is actually quite a fun side quest.
A fun challenge. Okay, work.
Where you basically just have to run around the desert collecting things to help someone. It's a nice change of pace compared to the usual gameplay of this game. Like, no other quests really allow you to do stuff like this. And you have to use your instinct to find it. The game doesn't tell you about this side quest. You just have to talk to the right people to find out about it. So we talk to this person, we find the thing, we give the thing to this person, only to tell this person that we need to go back to this person to grab this thing. And then once we've got that thing, we go and kill these people to do this thing. And then this guy's better and we were supposed to get some rewards here, but we sold this snake skin that we should have used to get better rewards. But how was I supposed to know I had to keep this random bit of snake skin from a random side quest? So we get the worst reward possible. But more importantly, we get the key that we need to advance on to the hunt. So that's pretty good for me. Now that we can access new areas of the Bahrain mines, there are some stronger enemies than there were before, and a lot of things that cause disease on us. And disease is a terrible status effect. Basically, what disease does is every time you take damage, instead of it reducing your HP, it actually reduces your max HP. So you cannot heal up your health after you get attacked. So every time you revive yourself, you will be revived with one singular HP. And that is just terrible, and we have nothing to cure it off. So every time we get disease, we have to run all the way back to this save sphere here and cure the disease off of us, and then continue on with the quest at hand. And it's very frustrating. Later on in the game, we do get items that get rid of disease, but at the stage we are at the moment, we cannot get rid of it. And I don't think we should really be in this area at the level we are at the moment, but I'm here now. I did the side quest and I want to defeat this hunt, so I'm going through it and just seeing if I can survive.
You're very brave, Ken.
Thank you, Barbie.
And let me tell you, this area is not playing around. The enemies here are so difficult and there's so many of them. I'm using a party of Basch, Ashe and Balthier at the moment. It's quite a large area that we need to go through to get to where we need to be, and there's just so many things that can go wrong. We can get disease, we can get silenced, the enemies deal loads of damage to us, they just spawn out of the ground at random, most of them are undead, which is quite frustrating as well. Basch can luckily deal some white magic damage to the undead enemies, but I do need his white magic spells to heal up our party members. I thought about swapping in Vaan, but Vaan just dies way too easily. His defenses are terrible, he's got no HP.
Drag her.
And Basch can at least defend himself a lot better. And same with Ashe and Balthier, that's why I have them in the party at the moment. Of course, Fran does good damage with her black magic spells, but the amount of damage and things that these enemies can do to you, I just found that it was just much easier to have physical attackers for this part. But we are struggling.
Clearly the struggle is real.
There, I can tell that we are just under-leveled to be here. It's very easy to get overwhelmed here, and if you die, it's a very, very long way back from the save point, so you just kind of need to get through it. I could have just fled and ran through it, and I think I do that eventually, but I wanted to collect all the treasure that was in this area, so I do try and fight most enemies that appear on screen. You could also see that this place has a lot of traps, so every now and then I'll swap in Fran because I know that she has Libra as her accessory, so I kind of use her, see where the traps are, and then just remove all of my other party members so that I can sneak around all of the traps, because some of these traps have disease in them, so it's very, very, very vital that we do not get hit by any of the traps, because if we get disease on us, we are screwed. That character is essentially useless and we have to swap into somebody else, because the save point is very far away from us at this point, and I ain't going all the way back.
No ma'am. No ma'am. No,
I have come this far, I'm nearing the end of the dungeon, the hunt is at the end of the dungeon, and I just want to get there. I haven't even thought about the hunt itself because the area is so difficult. that I'm like, how are we even going to stand a chance against the monster? But we do eventually make it towards the end of the dungeon, and I hit this save crystal ready to fight the hunt. And after how difficult this place was, I was expecting the worst with this hunt, but turns out he's actually fairly easy. The only annoying thing about this fight is these skeletons that keep popping up, and they have reflect on them, so every time Ashe is dealing fire damage, it's being bounced back. I believe Ashe is casting fire because this is a flying enemy, and I didn't actually realise, but spears and poles can hit flying enemies, so you don't need to cast black magic spells on them. And I'm a little bit confused why the Uhlan can learn black magic spells. It's actually kind of useless, and it's frustrating because I feel like the Uhlan could have been a really awesome class if it just had a bit more utility, but there's almost no reason to ever use fire, because the only reason you would want to cast black magic spells would be against an enemy that you can't hit, such as a flying enemy, but the spears can reach the flying enemies anyway, so it's just much easier to do physical damage. The black magic spells are a waste of time. But anyway, let's continue on with this fight. He's actually fairly easy. He does have reflect on him, which is very frustrating, so we need to make sure we get that off him first before we can start dealing some decent magic damage to him. So we do that, but in doing so, we do also kill Vaan. Well, we don't kill Vaan, the Bloodwing kills Vaan, but we then swap out into Balthier and we start reviving our other characters so that now we can start dealing some damage to him. The debugs are off, there are no enemies around, but we have to be quite careful because if we start moving around too much, an enemy will pop out of the ground and start attacking us, and we'll have to deal with them, and the less enemies that are on screen, the better. And yeah, Balthier is really good in this fight because of his weapon. He can shoot flying enemies much easier than the other characters, and it doesn't have a very high chance of missing, so that's pretty good. And then Basch is just doing his thing, healing us up, dealing some black magic damage whenever needed. And then I've also got Ashe dealing black magic damage, and I probably should have swapped into Fran, to be honest, but I think I wanted Ashe just for her defense. And oh, would you look at that, a skeleton has just come out of nowhere and decided to join the party. It's quite annoying because your characters don't just sit still. You can see Balthier is just like wandering about, and it's like if everybody just stayed still, we wouldn't spawn any enemies and this fight would be a lot easier. But they don't listen, they just walk around, do their own thing, and that's fine. I don't really care, you know, this fight isn't being too much of an issue for us. It is literally just these other enemies that are frustrating us. And now there's a ghost that keeps floating around and he's after Balthier, but it looks like Balthier can handle it, so we've just sort of left him to it and he got rid of that without too much of a problem, which is lovely. This enemy can also suck our blood and steal our HP, which is a little bit annoying, but honestly, compared to the rest of this place, this was a cakewalk, and so glad we got that out of the way. After saving the game, I noticed that there is actually an end to this dungeon very close, so I'm like, let's go through here and just see what the end of the dungeon looks like, shall we? So this right here is Zalera, and Zalera is a crazy powerful dude. Every Eidolon in this game has their own element attached to them, or like gimmick, and this guy's element is darkness and death and terribleness, and the design is very cool. I like that he's deep within this mine, and like, you know, if you're a fan of sort of emo-y, grungy type stuff, I feel like this is the dude for you. And I don't know, I vibe with it, I think he's cool, but it's so difficult. Oh my gosh, this guy is immune to damage for the beginning of the fight, so you have to kill all of the skeletons that are around first, and as soon as you kill the skeletons around him, he can then start to take damage. I know that he's undead, so I'm just going through and changing some of my gambits so that we automatically cast Curagar and all of our curing spells on the undead enemies, because that is the best way to get through this dude. But he does actually have reflect on him, so we do need to use dispel first. Luckily, we're only reflecting white magic spells against us, so that is handy. But the skeletons are actually a bit of a problem because they can cast reflect on themselves, they have shell and protect on them as well, and they are quite strong enemies, you know. They only go down in a couple of hits, but if they have reflect on them, you have to cast dispel on them, and then it just like wastes a turn you're doing that, and it can just get quite troublesome because he summons them quite frequently, and he has a lot of like tricky things that he can do, which we are soon to find out. Like I said, I went into this completely blind, and I wasn't sure how tough this guy would be, but he is probably the most challenging thing we've been up against thus far, and that says a lot because we've been against quite a lot of hard stuff. So I'm just using steel to see what I could get from him, and turns out I got a pebble. And you can see there one of the skeletons does actually have reflect on them. In fact, both of them do, which is annoying. And you can see Ashe has been disabled. Yes, that is a thing with this fight. Oftentimes, depending on your level, Zalera will cast disable and other annoying status effects like sleep as well, and also death. And it's all dependent on what level you are. Apparently the perfect level is to be around like 41 or something, because that's how you dodge most of his things. But if your level is a multiple of 2 or 4 or whatever it is, you will be disabled, you will be deafed, you will be whatever status it is he decides to use on you. And that's really hard. Luckily we have things that protect against it, but obviously in this first fight I didn't know about all that, so I'm trying to take this one slow. I'm making sure to get rid of the skeletons, do damage and heal as much as possible. And I thought that was the best tactic. I always think going slow is the best way to do things. Focus on the defense, try and figure out what this guy can do. And you can see once we actually get to do damage to him, his health bar isn't that large. We are actually doing a significant amount of damage thanks to Basch and Vaan using their white magic skills against him. But you can see he will cast reflect on himself again, which is frustrating. We have to make sure we are curing the sleep off of people. We cannot cure disable, so disable is definitely a lot worse than sleep. But luckily it doesn't last too long, and these three are definitely the best three to use, simply because we need white magic to do this fight. Like, white magic is just so overpowered when it comes to undead enemies, and Ashe is just there as our big meat sponge. She's there to sponge up all the damage and just sort of be a helping hand. She has some good damage as well, and it's nice to have a character that doesn't rely on MP as much, so that is what the role of Ashe is for this. So I'm taking my time, I'm sorting out some gambits, I'll rush through towards the end of this fight, and it's all seemingly going quite well. We are taking a lot of damage and we do have to revive a lot, but it's nothing we can't handle. And then all of a sudden, bam, we just get kicked out of the dungeon. It turns out this fight is on a timer, which is so annoying. So you have to beat this guy quickly, and this is just not a fight that can be done very quickly, at least at the stage that we're at the moment, because our characters are just not strong enough to deal enough damage to him while curing off all of our status effects. So this was a bit of a fail. I tried it one more time and just stupidly went in without changing anything, and we die immediately, obviously, because I didn't change anything up. So this time around I'm like, right, I know what this guy does now. We need to protect against sleep and disable, and luckily I have a couple of accessories that do that. So I give the sleep protection to Vaan, and then I head over to Ashe and give her the disable protection, and now at least that way we are protected. And I believe Basch is safe from one of these due to his level. I can't remember which one, but that's why I don't give Basch anything. Basch does also have the Sage's Ring, so all of his MP is cut in half, or the cost of all of his magic spells, I should say, are cut in half. So I was not too worried, and you can see I'm just trying to find the necessary accessory for Ashe so that she can equip the accessory that we need her to equip. And I'm also going through the license board and just increasing some of Vaan's magic potential, since he is now a damage dealer. So the higher our magic stat is, the more healing damage we are going to deal to MrZalera.com or Mrs. Zalera. I don't know. Which one is Zalera? Is it the little ghost lady hanging off the side, or is it the spooky dude on top? And is it even a dude? Who knows? It's a skeleton. I don't know. I like the design though. It is very cool. Okay, let's get into it with round 3, and immediately we are casting Curagar because we have set their gambits to do that, and obviously it does nothing because that's just what it does. And you can see there Ashe is disabled, which is fine. Ashe is probably the least useful of our characters, but then Basch gets disabled and it's like, it's up to you now, Vaan. And yeah, I don't think I've noticed that they have reflect on them, as I'm not using dispel, and his health is quite low, so I'm just like, right, I'm just gonna attack him. And then luckily Ashe comes out of her disable and finishes off the final skeleton. So now we can focus on Zalera, except we can't yet because he does actually still have his protection on him. You have to kill 4 of the skeletons before his protection has worn off and you can start dealing damage to him. And that's quite sad, and it's even more sad that they keep on using reflect on themselves. They don't do that too often, but when they do, it just makes the fight drag out even longer, and we have not got time. We need to get this done quickly. So we finally get rid of the final skeleton, and now it is time for Zalera to show himself. But of course we are still getting disabled, which is quite frustrating, but now the fight feels like it has properly begun. And Kuraghat is doing a lot of good damage from Vaan, but death, you can see, that is frustrating because it just doesn't matter how high our HP is, death is just going to kill us regardless, and it comes out very frequently. So you need your white mages to be dealing healing damage to this guy, but they're too busy reviving everyone as well. I maybe could have changed it so that they use Phoenix Downs to cut on time, but I didn't want to change my gambits around too much. I wanted to just see if I could get this done, and this is just one of those fights that is very, very frustrating. You can see two of us got put to sleep, and then as soon as one comes out of sleep, the other one gets disabled. It's just very rare that you ever get 3 characters that are consistently doing stuff in this fight, simply because there's always going to be somebody who's petrified or disabled or asleep or dead, and you spend most of your time trying to heal off all the status effects and not dealing damage to him, and that's when he boots you out again, right? Even though we've improved our license board and things like that and put on the correct accessories, this fight is not going any better, you know? There is a lot of RNG involved on just like if the statuses land on you, what level you are, whether the death comes out, what things he decides to do. When his big attack comes out, it really doesn't do too much to us. I'm not scared of that at all. It is mainly just the other stuff he does. I can already tell with this one that it is just going a bit too slow, and as you can see, we were too slow and we fail again. But I'm not counting these as deaths, guys. This is not being added to the death counter. We do not die, we just get booted out. I decided to give the battle one more shot just to see if I was doing something wrong or you'd have better RNG, but no, we actually die in this fight. So I was like, okay, I think I just need to come back to this guy at a later point. So we move back to the main story and head on over to the Nalbina Fortress. And I'm actually a massive liar because we are not getting on with the main story. We're doing a few more hunts, and we have this one against Atomos, which is another one of those cutie little dudes with the no arms and giant legs, and we kill that very easily. And this next one is against these crazy alien looking dudes, and immediately I'm like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of them. They are attacking us quite a lot. I was not prepared for this. They are weak against aero, so I know that I can use that on them. And I do decide to run away, first of all, because I want to come back now that I know what these guys do and hit them with a surprise attack. So that was just a little test. We didn't die, but I do run back to the save crystal and then come back with Fran in our party. And I make sure to use Eroga, as it is a super, super high damage dealing aero attack, and these guys are super susceptible to it. We also have Balthier in the party casting disable on all of them, which is super good because they are weak to disable. So yeah, I feel much better prepared. Once we get the little dudes out the way, I will feel a lot better because we're just taking a lot of damage from all of the enemies, and luckily they go down to a few more Erogas, and we can just focus on the big dude himself. But I thought it'd be really, really easy once we just had the big dude, but it turns out this guy is very powerful, and this is the start of where I'm like, right, Fran is now going to become a pretty permanent party member. None of the party members are really permanent, but seeing how much damage she done, it is just unrivaled to anything else we have in this game. Everyone else's normal attacks are doing like 1,000 here and there, and her Eroga is doing over 4,000 damage, so she's got over quadruple the amount of damage as most of our other characters. So yeah, her magic spells at this point in the game really start to ramp up in power level, and she becomes a super, super handy DPS character, and she only gets better from here. I feel like towards the mid and early game, the Black Mage is like fine, but the late game, she really, really blossoms, and this fight best illustrates that. Luckily we do have slow on this guy, which is handy, but we do die quite frequently because his attacks are very, very strong. The main thing we need to do is get Fran revived, and I thought we were getting towards the end of the fight and we were going to win, and then Vaan and Balthier both die, so I'm like, right, I just need party members. So I send in Ashe, and then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, right, I'll grab Basch so that we can revive Basch, and then Basch can be the one to revive Fran whenever she goes down, simply because he has access to raise, but also has higher defenses than Vaan does. So it is just a game of protect the Fran. I should have probably used decoy. I'm not too sure if I have decoy yet, but I do utilize decoy much later in the game. I don't think I knew about it at this point, or maybe didn't have it, but Decoy essentially lures the enemy to attack a specific character. So I could have put Decoy on someone like Penelo, and then that way Fran would have been able to just deal her Eroga damage without having to worry about the enemy potentially attacking her. And the fight was going very well up until this point. We just can't seem to stabilize. He's only got very little health left, but it's just super hard. And we do actually get a game over, which I did not expect. I really thought we had it that time. So I'm going at it again using a similar tactic, but this time starting with Disable instead of Eroga, and hopefully getting Disable off at the beginning will just make this part a lot easier. I'm scrolling through my items to see if I have any Eroga motes, and turns out I do, so I'm like, while they're all still alive, I might as well chuck an Eroga mote out so that we can have 2 characters doing Eroga, and that just like demolishes all the little dudes. Like the little dudes are just straight up out of the question now, apart from one, but he is disabled, so I'm not too worried. And luckily I can run away here and they don't seem to follow, or at least not at first. So this gives us the perfect opportunity to revive our characters and get everybody healed up. And he's not a HP critical yet, so we know that he is not going to be dealing too much damage to us. And now it is time to just simply stabilize. So I know that we can use Disable on this guy, so I'm trying desperately to get Disable out with Balthier, but as we know in the past, it's quite hard for Disable to actually go through onto the enemy simply because of Balthier's low magic stat, and because this guy probably has high magic defense or something. I don't know, he's a tough enemy. Probably a little bit over leveled for what we can achieve, but hey, I'm not a quitter. I see a tactic, I see how much damage Eroga is doing, and I truly believe that with enough patience, we can get this fight done. So yeah, he is going after my poor lady Fran at the moment. Actually no, he's going for Balthier, which is great. We want him to go for Balthier, and as long as he's not going for Fran, we are okay. And luckily Balthier is blocking, he has quite decent HP. So I say decent HP, he's actually got less HP than Fran, but he has higher defenses, so he can take a hit, he can also block. And yeah, this guy just seems to be ignoring Fran, which is perfect. So we're getting out loads of Erogas, and he still is not yet at HP critical, which surprises me because we've managed to do a lot of damage to him. Oh yeah, side note, if I sound really weird this episode, I am quite ill and my nose is quite blocked, and that's probably why my voice sounds a bit funny. I'm trying not to sniff after every sentence, but you could probably tell my voice sounds a bit funny. But it's that time of the year, it's cold outside, everybody's ill, it's Christmas, people are busy and stressed, and illness just comes and strikes just like that. But we gotta push through, right? We gotta kill these hunts, and there's no rest in Ivalice. There is a war going on, so this illness cannot stop me, and I have to conquer. And conquer we do, because we get the Antlion. No, it's Antlion. We get the Antlion down. And hey, look at that. We get rewarded with my favorite spell, Expose. And people who say it's called Expose are actually lying to you. That definitely says Expose, okay? And I was feeling kind of confident, so I was like, you know what, let's go try out this chicken fight again. I feel like I am ready, and as you can see from the footage shown, most of my party is dead, but the chicken is nearly dead. But this wolf decided to get involved, and I was like, right, this is clearly not going well, and we actually die again to the chicken. So when I tell you this chicken is my least favourite fight, it really is. And I thought I would give up there, but nope, turns out I decided to go and fight the chicken again. And of course, we die again. So leave the chicken alone, Jam. We will come back to the chicken at a later date.
Leave her alone!
Okay, this time we are genuinely going for the story now, and the story requires us to go through the Salika Wood, and we have this boss battle here against the bomb. And I didn't actually need to do this boss battle at all. It's blocking a path that we don't even need to access at the moment, but I didn't know where I was going, so I'm now on the bridge fighting these bombs. And I thought this would be easy, but it really wasn't. This guy spawns out a lot of mini bombs, which are very easy to take out, but he also casts oil on all of us, and oil is a status effect, which is quite strange. It just basically means that we take more damage to fire. I don't know why any of the other elemental spells don't get statuses like that. I don't know what else you could use for Fundara or Blazara or anything like that. But it's weird that fire just has its own special status effect that increases the damage that is taken by it. But that is what. Nope. I can't speak. Jesus, sorry, illness. Right, what am I saying? These are bombs, they're big and they're bombs, and they explode. We don't want them to explode because if they explode, they'll hurt us. Do I want to be hurt? Of course not. I want to win the game. I don't want to be blown up by giant bombs in the middle of the woods. How is this woods not on fire? There's literally tons and tons of bombs running around. All it would take is for them to walk up to a single tree and the whole wood would go down. How did this guy survive in here this long without burning everything down? I don't know. Who cares?
Nobody cares.
But oil is clearly a problem. But what is a bigger problem is the fact that this bomb keeps using this renew spell. So as soon as his HP gets to a certain amount, I don't know how much, he'll just restore all of his HP back to normal. And I don't really know how to deal with this. Usually when I do this fight, like most fights in this game, I just start a quickening chain that goes on forever and ever and they just die in one hit. Quickenings are so overpowered. I feel like most of the story bosses in this game can be defeated by the quickenings. So it's very fun playing this game without using them because I have to actually figure out these fights. But this one I never really did figure out, and I thought I could do this easily, and he keeps using this thing. I tried to use Reflect on him. I don't know if I'd do it in this fight or in another one, but even Reflect doesn't seem to work on him, because I figured he was, you know, casting a white magic spell on himself to restore his HP. So if I could Reflect him, then he could just bounce it back on us, and then he can't cast his spell, but doesn't seem to work. Maybe Silence would have worked. I didn't try Silence. I could have, but yeah, we're having a bit of an issue here, and oil is quite problematic. I am very stubborn though, and I was like, this is a story boss, and we've just defeated loads of hunts that were crazy powerful, so I don't need to heal the oil off me. I can just beat him regardless. And hey, I'm about to get humbled, so don't you worry, I will get my just desserts soon. Is that a saying that makes sense? I don't know, I don't really know what that means, but I've said it now, so I will get my just desserts. And if this guy was a dessert, I reckon he would be a souffle, because souffles are hot, I think. What is a hot dessert? Maybe he'd be like a, I don't know, like an apple crumble, or a chocolate lava cake. He'd be a chocolate lava cake, obviously, because he's made of lava. I wouldn't like to go and eat dessert with this guy. I don't think I would go on a date with him. Like, if he asked me on a date, I would think about it, and I'd probably very politely decline, because I don't want to offend him, because he could blow up and kill me. But I would just say, oh, that's really lovely, you'd like to go on a date. But sadly, I just, I'm busy, I'm washing my hair that day. That's the best excuse. If you ever want to get out of any situation, just tell them you have to wash your hair that day. You can say that washing your hair takes a full day because you have to shampoo, condition, blow dry, style, gel, hairspray, you know. It's a big task, and if they try and tell you otherwise, then they're liars. And just say that they're gaslighting you. That's another good one. I'm running out of things to say. I feel very ill and drained. So I'm just going to start talking because it's just fun. I have a microphone in front of me. There's a boss battle going on. You can see what's happening. You don't need to tell me what's going on. You have eyes. So I'm just here to fill the time. You know, I feel like most people watching this, they don't really care what I'm saying. They don't care about the strategy. They just want to watch the flashy objects, and they just want to hear the weird British man simp over Bosch. Not Bosch, Balthier. But yeah, renew is a problem. Can you see how much renew is doing? It's really, really sad and stressful. I don't know how to cure oil either. I don't know if Ezuna would even work, but Ezuna is definitely an option. But I'm assuming I already tried that and it didn't work. They're ganging up on us. It's feeling rough, and I wanted this to be a quick fight, and it's not being a quick fight. I'm going to skip forward towards the end of this fight because you get the idea. He does actually kill us because every time we get his health low, we start running out of MP. He just keeps renewing his HP. So I try to go into the fight again with a bit more of a strategy this time around. So, luckily we have the ghillie boots. I don't know how you say that, but they're really, really powerful accessory that gives us immunity to oil and boosts our speed and other stats quite a lot. And I really like this. If you're just looking for an accessory that just gives you a massive stat boost, put the ghillie boots on. They are the ones. So Ashe already has access to it, so I equipped them on her. And now we are ready to face the bomb for a second time. And I don't really know what I was expecting this time around. I was just going to try and use some time magic skills to see if that could do anything. And I thought stop would work really well, because if he can't move, he can't renew his HP. So as it starts to get a bit low, I can cast stop, and then I can just deal damage to him until he dies. And it keeps missing, but it doesn't say immune. So I'm like, Perfect. We've got the strategy. Stop is where it's at. It's just unfortunate that it just doesn't come off very easily. The time battle mage is starting to frustrate me a bit. The techniques are really, really cool and really useful, but it's just like I'm so sick of having to cast the same thing over and over and over again in hopes that it just somehow comes off, because it's just random. Like it just doesn't want to work sometimes, and that's very annoying. And the little bombs are really stressful. I'm just deciding to ignore them for now because I'm like, maybe that's the problem. Maybe we just need to go after Big Bomb McGee and leave the little ones alone. But they're too annoying not to leave alone. So eventually I do think we go after the little bombs. But, you know, for now we're doing fine. The only one who has oil on him is Balthier. And that's a little bit unfortunate for him, but he's a tough boy. I'm sure he can take it. This is where now I decide to go for the little bombs and just get them out of the way. He uses renew whether there's little bombs around him or not, so you might as well get rid of them. Or just wait for them to explode, I suppose. That is another option that we have. So now I'm going to go ahead and try and use disable to see if that does anything. And of course it misses. Again, like why wouldn't it miss? Because that is just like what all of the time battle mage spells does. They just miss all the time. And I'm getting desperate. I'm like, what else can I do? I don't know what I could do to this guy. I just need him to die. I'm looking through techniques, I'm looking through spells, and I'm like, something's got to work. I decided to cast Decoy on Ashe just so that he can leave Balthier alone, because I need Balthier to cast his spell. So I'm like, just go after Ashe. Ashe's main purpose is just to be the meat shield. We just want everyone to be attacking her, essentially. And he's running around trying to summon loads of dudes. And I'm like, whoa, his health bar's getting pretty low. And then all of a sudden, he just dies. So I don't know what I did differently that time. The RNG was just on my side for some reason. But yeah, we killed the bomb completely unnecessarily. And he blows up the woods, but of course nothing catches on fire. It just creates a pathway somehow. I don't know, man. I'm tired. This game is stressing me out. Like, nothing makes sense. But hey, at least we did it. I wish I could have told you more of the strategy with that fight, but we just got weirdly lucky, so that's cool. While we are here, I'm like, let's just do this hunt. There's a hunt round here against this giant electric unicorn. Kind of looks like Ixion, right? And we actually get an advantage on it. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, we've got the high ground, Anakin.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
So let's cast slow on him. So we get him slowed straight away, which is like, awesome. And then disable comes out from Balthier's weapon. And I'm like, oh, okay, he can't do anything now. And the rest is history, really. We are now just attacking him until he dies because he can't move. And even if he could move, he's too slow to move. So this is pretty fun. It was a very, very simple fight. Not much to report on there. But after that bomb fight, I was lucky to have something so simple. So goodbye, Ixion. Thank you so much for being really easy. So now I'm just running around the woods finding... Sorry, did I say that correctly? Did that say what I thought it said? Okay, yeah, it did. Can you say that in a video game? This is supposed to be a 12. Honestly. But whatever. We are now doing this little mini game with these little Kupo dudes. What are they called? Moogles? They're Moogles. And we just need to find them all. But the map tells you exactly where they all are. So the mini game is walk around the woods and then press X on the Moogles when you see them. And I'm going to have a quick little rant here about the mini games in this game, because Final Fantasy has some banging mini games. 7 and 10 come to mind straight away. 10, you've got Blitzball, you've got Blitzball, but 7, you've got the snowboarding and the gold saucer. And the mini games in this game is just like so bad. Like, they don't add anything to the story. They're not entertaining. It's either the I'm Captain Basch von Ronsenberg of Dalmasca, or it's finding Moogles, or it's, you know, collecting charge from the sun crystals or whatever. None of them are good. None of them add anything to the game. I suppose what this game lacks in mini games, it makes up for in side quests and hunts and interesting fights. But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing because I quite like when the game has some fun mini games, but this one just doesn't. So it's a shame, but I don't think it ruins the overall experience of Final Fantasy XII. Luckily, they're short enough and quite sparsely decorated amongst the game. Decorated? That's not the right word. I've said it now. There's not too many of them, basically. So it doesn't feel too overwhelming. But whenever they do show up, you're like, oh yeah, why do I have to do this? Okay, I'll do it, I guess, to progress, but like, why? But yeah, that's just my rant on the minigames in this game. But hey, maybe you like the minigames. And if you do, leave a comment down below. And while you're there, like and subscribe. And if you want to leave a tip, you can leave a tip via the thanks button on YouTube. Or you can also join my memberships on YouTube, where you get priority replies on live streams, as well as other lovely bonuses such as early access and a mention at the end of every video. Before we arrive at our next destination, I think now is as good a time as any to show you guys some stats to let you know where each of our characters are at, because I feel like I haven't done that much in this series, and it just gives you guys a bit of an insight into each of the characters and maybe help you feel a bit more connected with them. So let's start off with Vaan. And as you can see, Vaan's attack power and strength are pretty weak, but his magic power is quite nice, and he has some good speed on him, which is nice. It means he can get out his healing spells rather quickly, and we've given him the thief cuffs, which just means he can steal better items. Because he doesn't attack much due to his low attack power, we use him as our thief as well. Up next is Balthier, who's actually a very good physical attack damage dealer. He's got high strength and good attack power on his weapon as well as some very decent defenses due to using heavy armor. The only downside is of course his low HP, which means he can't really be a tank, but this is why I've given him the bubble belt to double his maximum HP. Another downside of him is his lack of magic power, which is why his time BattleMage skills keep on missing. He's also got the stone bolts, which can disable the enemies, making Balthier one of my favourite physical attack damage dealing characters in this game. Next up is Fran, who I use quite frequently, and she actually has the highest magic power tied with Vaan, and the rest of her stats are kind of blah, like she's not very good in any other aspect except for magic power, and even then she doesn't excel to crazy degrees, you know? Either way, the black magic spells are just too powerful to pass up, so her stats don't even really matter because the utility and the damage that she can deal far outweighs anything that she lacks in her stats. Next up is Basch, whose stats are fairly average, but that is the beauty of Basch and where he kind of shines. He has nothing that he really excels in, but nothing that he's particularly weak in. He's got great magic power and great strength and attack power to match it, with good evade thanks to having a shield on him, making him just a very all-round good character. And that is the downside of the red mage, is that they don't excel in anything, but it's nice to have a character that can just do it all, and do it all pretty well, to be honest. Hence why he is a higher level than most of my other characters. I very rarely find opportunities where I can't utilize Basch in my party, so he's kind of soared above and beyond anyone else in the party at this moment in time. Moving on to Ashe now, and you can see that she has 67 strength, which is nothing to sniff at, coupled with high speed, high defense, high magic resist, and she is by far the best physical attack damage dealing character. The only issue with her is of course that her evade is pretty terrible, and she cannot really do anything else other than attack, but if you need someone to do physical damage, Ashe is the girl to call. The girl who is not to call though is our last party member, Penelo. And I've kind of just let Penelo fall into obscurity, and her level is so much lower than everyone else's. I'm pretty sure Basch is like a whole 10 levels above her. Her HP is real good, but her defenses are not very good, which just means that whenever she takes a lot of damage, you have to heal her up much more because you need to get that HP higher, and it means using more resources to get it higher, whereas Ashe's lower HP but higher defenses means we just have to heal less and can still tank damage. Does that make sense? She gets some good weapons though with high evade and good attack power, but her strength is terrible, her speed is nothing.
All of you guys think that I'm like nothing.
I would never say that. Her interview was her look was her book cover was her trying to launch and sell her book to the judges was
and she can learn some curing spells later on, but her magic power is so weak that what is even the point, right? We have white and red mages to do that already. And that's the thing, is like whenever I need a physical attack damage dealing character, I'm probably using Ashe or Balthier, and I never really find an opportunity to bring Penelo in, hence why she is absolutely terrible at the moment. Maybe I'll find some uses for her later on, but as it stands, Penelo is kind of trash. So sorry about it. And I promise this is nothing personal to Penelo. I know I kind of like hated on her in the first episode, but it's just her class and her stats that are making me not use her. Nothing to do with her. Maybe subconsciously it's to do with her, I don't know. But now we have arrived in my favourite location of the game, the Vaan coast, and after trekking through a bunch of crazy scary dungeons and caves and jungles, it's nice to be in an area that is just lush and vast and beautiful. And they have an actual valid reason why they didn't use an airship this time, because this place is close to Arcadia, they would have been caught and arrested, so it makes sense that we walked all of this way, unlike when we walked all the way to the Tomb of Wraithwall all that time ago. I really do love this area. It's so nice to just lay back and just admire the beautiful view, and what a great view it is. Like, this is truly the best view we've had the entire game, right?
Electric chair.
Ashe may be one of the most fiercest women in video game history, but that does not stop her from tripping over a bit of sand. And this is actually a really cool scene we get with Balthier, where we learn a bit more about his backstory and why he is adventuring with us. This entire time we haven't really learnt too much about him, other than he is on this quest with us just to find some treasure and learn about Nephesite. But why does he want to know about Nephesite? Well, turns out Balthier used to be a judge, which is awesome, so he was actually a very fearsome warrior, and somebody who Arcadia would definitely recognise if he was around them, which is quite strange because we've been captured by the Empire several times and none of them have mentioned that he used to be a judge, but that's okay. We also learned that Balthier had an ex-boyfriend named Dr. Sid.
And I suppose that's when I lost my father.
Oh, right, the father, right. The way he was saying it at the beginning, it sounded like it was a boyfriend. I'm just going to pretend it was an ex-boyfriend because that fits more in my fantasy. But yeah, this is just another cool scene where we get to hear more about the important characters and watch the unimportant characters play in the sand like little babies. Aww, isn't that cute? But I think we're going to leave it there this episode. Apologies, this one was a little bit chaotic, but it happens, you know. No tip shoutouts this week, but I do want to give a special shout out to our first ever member, H. If you would like to also join H in becoming a member and getting a shout out at the end of every video, then you can do so via the memberships link in the description, or just check out my channel and find it there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. My name has been Jamsack. See you guys next time.